we try to be not only plurilingual but also punctual, and it's time to continue to proceed with our conference. And it's my great pleasure to introduce two speakers, though I'm sure some of you know the speakers much better, probably even better than me, though I think that during these 3 years we have developed quite a good friendship. So I'll try to be more formal. It's my great pleasure to introduce to you Paloma Castro, who is a senior lecturer at the University of Valladolid, where she teaches at the graduate and master level at the Faculty of Education and Social Work, which is at this house, right? She has published from her research in foreign language teacher education, with a particular focus on the intercultural dimension. Her present research interests also include citizenship education and internationalization. She has participated to several projects, being one of the most prominent, the European project Interact, within the 6th European Framework Program. And next to her, you can see Dr. Elena González-Cascos, who works at the Department of Philology, and her field of research focuses on linguistic and intercultural dimension in teaching, learning, and education. So guys, now the audio is yours. Good luck.
Thank you. All right, now the presentations are going to be oriented to our project, what we've done during these 3 years. And we start with the first part, which is more conceptualized, because we tried at the beginning of the project to conceptualize the concept of plurilingualism. And we did that research on this, going to documents from the Council of Europe, and this is what we are going to present today, the result of this research in terms of concepts. So for that reason, plurilingualism in education, a challenge for teacher education. Right, nobody can deny that our current society is defined by diversity and globalization. Diversity in terms of identities, of cultures and languages, and also globalization, which means the opening of local perspectives to a broader outlook of an interconnected world. Joseph Coates talked before about this messy world. Well, this is the reality, what happens. If we take a picture of Europe, we can see this diversity. There are huge variety of languages, which means variety of cultures and identities. Given this diversity in Europe, the Council of Europe and language education policies are taking initiatives for the preservation of Europe's linguistic heritage. And this creation of a feeling of belonging to Europe in the context of democratic citizenship. And what democratic citizenship means? It means the right and responsibility to participate in the cultural, social, and economic life of the community together with others. And for this to happen, and for this reason, successful communication in democratic process and activities among citizens becomes a priority in Europe. It is the diversity of our societies which demands different perspectives in education. This perspective is based on understanding education as a means to contribute and enhance the individual's participation in society as citizens, based on this acceptance of the linguistic and cultural diversity, which is the reality. Adopting this perspective implies an engagement and a challenge to face, which of course affects to those involved in education. Teachers, teacher trainers, stakeholders, politics, we are all concerned about that, and this is because we are here. And language teachers play an essential role to meet this challenge. Proficiency in the use of several languages contributes to a better communication and interaction. Situations that involve the participation of individuals coming from different cultural and linguistic backgrounds require language proficiency and also an acceptance of other people's languages and curiosity about those languages. In the Council of Europe's approach to language learning, the concept of plurilingualism has grown in importance. Within these the linguistic ideologies from the Council of Europe, plurilingualism is viewed as a fundamental principle in language education policies in Europe. Plurilingualism is understood as a competence, that is, an ability to use and learn more than one language for communication purposes, but it's also a value, an educational value, as the basis of linguistic tolerance and positive acceptance of diversity. That means that all speakers are potential plurilingual, in that they are able and capable of acquiring several linguistic varieties to different degrees, whether or not as a result of teaching. This simultaneous use of several language varieties gives the speaker greater flexibility in communication. These linguistic varieties are our linguistic repertoires. Okay, the aim of plurilingualism is to reach an effective communication with others. That is, getting this space of understanding. And you can see this in the picture, this in-between place. And what can we do what can we do for it? By using a flexible, or by using in a flexible way our plural repertoire of linguistic and cultural resources. The experience of interacting with people from other cultural and linguistic backgrounds and in different contexts enrich the repertoire of the individuals. If learners were aware of their plural repertoire, they would be more confident to communicate with others with different linguistic and cultural backgrounds. That would lead them to give equal values to other ways of communicating, that is, a linguistic tolerance and acceptance, which is essential in plurilingual education. So, based on the concept of the individual's linguistic repertoires, in which all linguistic abilities have a place, plurilingualism is considered as a changing repertoire of communicative resources that the speakers use according to their own needs. This plurilingual repertoire of individuals also involves a further development of the awareness of other cultures and cultural groups. From this perspective, plurilingual awareness has the function to managing the cultural misunderstandings which may result from lack of linguistic understanding, lack of mutual knowledge, or difficulties accepting other ways of behaving or doing things as a result of ethnocentric assessment. The introduction of the plurilingual approach in language education invites a reconsideration of identities. This idea is based on the premise that core aspects of other people's identities, including their language and cultural features, can be borrowed or acquired. Learning a new language gives access to potential new identities. And this is really an enriching experience. So learning language is not only about learning the code to communicate, but experiencing through the challenge of communicating with others, which contributes to changing perspectives and also expanding our identities. This change of perspective, of course, affects teachers. Expectations towards teachers are changing. Teachers are expected not only to teach the linguistic code, but also to contextualize this code against the social-cultural background and to promote the development of a plurilingual competence, which is the main goal in plurilingualism and plurilingual education. The Council of Europe understands plurilingual competence as the capacity to acquire and use different competences in different languages at different levels of proficiency. So, when we link plurilingualism to language education, we understand plurilingualism in the sense of accepting linguistic and cultural differences, with the purpose of interacting effectively and appropriately with other citizens. That means that plurilingualism in education admits the reality of complex and multiple identities. For this reason, language learning is reframed as an intercultural experience. From this new conception and being aware of the change in the teacher's profile, we understood that a reflective actualization of professional competences was required. A teacher's profile which facilitates, promotes, and assures that learners acquire a plural language and cultural repertoire mobilized by a plurilingual competence. In consequence, teacher education institutions are responsible for attaining the requirements driven of a plurilingual education in which plurilingual competence is included as the main objective. And this is what the TC4PI project wants to contribute, is seeking to contribute. We want to contribute to teacher education by providing an interactive process between teachers and in-service training stage with the student teachers and pre-service training teachers as well. So, accordingly with this, the TC4PI project creates a framework for developing teacher competences related to plurilingual education in order to fulfill the requirements for integrating a plurilingual competence in education. This framework is based on the following principles. First, cooperation. Cooperation between partners coming from teacher education institutions. So in this project, we are institutions coming from at the universities for pre-service teacher education, and also institutions coming from teacher training centers for the in-service teacher training. Another principle is mobility. For us, mobility is very important. Mobility for teachers and for teacher trainers. Strengthening the linguistic and intercultural competence. And the third one is reflexivity and dialoguing on good practice. And this is also an example of dialoguing, based on the experience developed at different education contexts. This triangle, teacher education, research and innovation, is conceived as an innovative element for contributing to lifelong learning, which is the name of the program, lifelong learning, the European program. So with the purpose of identifying the project working concepts related to definition of plurilingualism in education, we did an analysis of selected documents, the three of them coming from the Council of Europe, and we did a research in order to understand what plurilingualism is. So today, in this presentation, short presentation, we will present our understanding of the following concepts: plurilingual competence, the aims of plurilingual education, and the approach to plurilingual education. So as for the concept of plurilingual competence, this is what we've got from the analysis we did. Plurilingual competence is an ability. So this is something that we can develop in our students, because it's something that we develop. We are not born with that, but we are potential plurilingual people. So this is something we develop. It's an ability to master different languages to different degrees, to use all the resources of this known language in communication, and to realize that all the languages in individual repertoires, one's own and others people's, are considered as being of equal value, each in its own role. This is the same as what Joseph Cox presented before, this plurilingual mind, not separate boxes, but with this nice figure that you present. But it's, as I said, it's a competence that can be acquired. It's not necessarily an homogeneous repertoire. It is a changing repertoire, so it's constantly moving. It is considered a repertoire of communicative resources that speakers use according to their own needs. So depending on the context, on the situation, on the needs we have, so we use that repertoire. It is also considered as a transversal competence, extending to all the languages acquired or learned. And it is regarded as having a cultural aspect, a cultural dimension, that's forming plurilingual and pluricultural competence as potential experiences of several cultures. So this idea is viewed as a response to the concept of education. So now we will move to the aims and also to the approach, and I will give the floor to Elena González.
Thank you, Paloma. Yes. So, thank you. To sum up, we present in this table 2 the aims of plurilingual education as the result of the bibliographical research conducted in this TC4PI project. As we can see in the screen, we have these aims, which are to develop linguistic abilities, to develop intercultural abilities, to promote personal development, to contribute to the construction of individual and collective cultural identities, to foster inclusion and social cohesion, and finally, to contribute to the development of democratic citizenship, which Paloma has already mentioned before. Refer to the approach adopted in this plurilingual education, we have to say that towards the attainment of the above-mentioned aims, plurilingual education adopts an approach based on communication, which is something we have already stated by Paloma, by our keynote speaker, etc. The purpose is to develop abilities to interact effectively and appropriately with other individuals. Another key aspect related to the approach adopted is the consideration that learners are actively involved in the learning process through the development of reflective abilities or participating in self-assessment activities or promoting strategies for an independent study. Teachers contribute to a holistic development of the learner. The European Language Portfolio and the Autobiography of Intercultural Encounters, as an example, are useful supports in this process. According to the analyzed documents, the types of activities that can be promoted for the development of plurilingual education are the following. Reflexive metalinguistic activities linked to the languages used and taught in the classroom. Grammatical activities in which learners are not simply giving information on grammar, but also play a part in constructing it. These activities may lead to comparison of languages, but we have already talked about this, and to a deeper awareness of the intrinsic variability of all language systems. And finally, a comparison activities. This means participating in activities which foster language awareness and openness to languages, becoming aware of differences, similarities between languages, and of scope for partial intercomprehension between related languages, and participating in activities which encourage comparison of phenomena specific to various cultures. So finally, the last table refers to this approach I have just mentioned, based on learner autonomy, involve the use of cross-disciplinary projects, active involvement of learners, and promotion of reflection, self-assessment, and self-study. Thank you.
Yes, just to finish, this bibliographical research we did gave a lot of light to us, because after that we would be it provided a lot of information for doing all the training, which would be presented by the other team members. But we thought this part of the research at the beginning of the project was crucial for us. It gave us a lot of light to understand this new concept, because we are talking about a very innovative concept that has never, or at least we couldn't find experiences on how to introduce this in teacher education in terms of specific competences to be developed. So if you have any question, we finish with, yes, thank you very much.